Okay, today we'll be finishing up our TicTacToe application. So there were a couple things that we had talked about in class. So if we run this, we see that we can click here and then we can overwrite spaces. Let's stop that from happening. So if we write a private function, let's call it is space used. And we're going to pass a cell content. The name is going to be called cell content, but it's going to be a char. And we are going to return a Boolean. So here, the char object has a nice method on it we're going to use. So cell content dot is white space. So we know that if, oh no, not is white space, we want is letter. Is white space we'll use later, but is letter. So if the space is used, that it's going to have a letter in it, and it'll automatically check to see if it's white space or if it's a letter. And if it's a letter, then it returns true. So we want to put this in our cell click listener. And we want to pass in our game board row at index row and at index column. So if the space is used, we just want to return out. We don't want to change anything. So let's run that and see what happens. So if we click here, perfect, that's what we want. All right, so now we need a function to check whether the game board is full. So like I said, we're going to use that is white space in this method. But this private function is going to be called is board full. And we're going to pass in our game board, which of course is an array of char arrays. And we are going to return a Boolean. So here we're going to do nested for loop. So this is checking the rows I in 0 until gameboard.size. Then here we're going to have another for loop, and this one we'll do j's, and this one will check all the columns in each of those rows. J in 0 until gameboard at index I dot size. So now we do an if check. So if the game board at index I at index j, if that is white space, then we want to return false, because the game board is obviously not full. And so any one of those, any first space that we meet that's empty, it's going to return false. And that's what we want. So if we make it through all those if checks, then we return true. Private function. Now we want to have an isWinner method. So we want to check whether the character passed is the winner. So the character is the winner if it appears 3 times in either a horizontal, a vertical, or diagonal row. So private fun, which is an array of char, of char arrays. And then we're going to pass in our W, which is a char. So that's going to be the winner that we're going to check. So for, and we're only going to do one for loop. We're going to do 2 if checks for every iteration of the for loop. So for in 0 until gameboard dot size. So if game board at location I at location 0 equals W, and game board at location I at location 1 equals W, and game board at location I at location 2 equals W. Then return true. No, we forgot to include the Boolean here. So now we're going to basically do the opposite. So I'm just going to copy paste this. And these are just going to swap places. So I'm going to delete the numbers from this side. And here we're going to do at location 0i. Here, location 1i. And then here, location 2i. So now we exit our for loop. We have one final if check, and this is going to be kind of a long one. And we no longer have that index, so we all have to just use regular numbers. So if game board at location 0, 0 is W, and game board at location 1, 1 equals W, and the game board at location 2, 2 equals W. Or game board at location 0, so that was diagonal one way, and now we're going to check diagonal the other way. So diagonal 0, 2, so that equals W, and game board at 1, 1 equals W, and game board at 2, 0 equals W. Then we return true. If we've made it all the way through there, through all those if checks, and we still haven't hit any of those, then we return false. And that should be it for those two. So we have one final method to make, and this is going to be the game check status function. So this new function will make use of both those methods that we just wrote, the is board full and the is winner functions, to determine who the winner of the game is. So if neither X nor O has won and the board is full, then it's a draw. So regardless, we should show an alert displaying either the winner of the game or a message telling the user that the game was a draw. Okay, so now we're going to, this is also going to be a private function, check game status. And we are not returning anything. So we're going to have a state, and this state is going to be a string, a nullable string. So if we're going to check X first. So if X is our winner, then we want to display that. So then we set our state to, now the string has got a static method on it called format. And so then we can do get string r.string.winner And so what that does, just want to show you here in our strings file right here, this weird and 3 and so on, it would replace those with commas and additional inputs. So now we need to check if O is the winner. And we pass in our game board again. And this time we pass in O. And this is going to be almost identical. So now, if we make it through those two, we want to check if the board is full. So is our board full? Game board. Pass in our game board. State equals, and we're going to do that get string and pass in our dot string dot draw because we don't need to format it. It's already just as it's a draw. So now that we've passed that, we need to take a look at our state object and see if it has anything in it. So if state is null, we just want to return. If it's not null, we're going to continue forward. So turn text view dot text, and we did the unsafe check. Even though we know that there's something there, we have to, because if we don't, it's going to not like that. So text equals state. Then we're going to have a builder. Alert dialog dot capital B builder. We need to pass in our context, which is this. So then we have a builder, and we want to set message, and this message is going to be our state again. And then we set a positive button, and what we're going to set it, we're going to use the default Android strings. So we have to do android.r.string.ok. So now we want to have a lambda here, but it's going to make me put in 2 parameters. But since we're not going to be using them at all, we're just going to do an underscore, comma, space, underscore, and then to make it a lambda, we need to have the arrow, which is just a dash and then the right facing angle bracket. So now that we have that, we're just going to start a new game, but we're going to pass in false because we've already set our click listeners. And after this, even though we have a builder, we need to build it. So we need a dialog. So say builder dot create please. But just because we've created it doesn't mean that it is being shown. So we need to do dialog.show, and then we are done there. But we notice this isn't being used, and we need to do it every turn. We need to check our game status every single time that everything is clicked. And the best place to put that would be in our cell click listener at the very, very end. So we're going to check our game status. There. All right. So let's do a run to see what we got here. Make sure everything's working. So let's try to get somebody to win. X1. O1. I was trying to get a cat scratch. It's a draw. Okay. Now I don't like this little envelope, so we're going to change that. So if we go over to Activity Main and go to our Fab button right here, you'll notice that in Source Compat, we have this right here. But we're going to choose, we're going to go into Android, and we're going to look for a play button because the play button is in here and it looks a little better than anything else. Okay, the IC_media_play. We're going to do that one. We're going to click OK. So that looks nice. And then before we run it again, we're going to come back up to the top here. We have our display snack bar. We want to keep that. We like that. But what we're going to do is here we're going to do game restarted. And then we're going to call our start new game, but we're going to send false because we've already set our click listener here. And it doesn't matter how fast you click that button, as long as it appears on the screen, it's been created. So it's already been set, we don't have to worry about that. So anyways, let's try that functionality out. See how that works. Relaunching. Alright, waiting for debugger. Okay, we got some stuff here, and then we click that. Game restarted. Okay, well, it looks like our tic-tac-toe game is finished, and that's about all I have for today. So if you have any questions, just let me know. You can email me or contact me in class. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.